Okay, the question today is how do you teach subjects that maybe you don't understand very well? For most of us, that's the subjects like algebra or any of the high school math subjects, the science subjects, but it really could be any other subject too, because all of us have expertise in certain areas and probably not so much in other areas. So, this is one of the great joys and maybe I might say frustrations in homeschooling. If we're looking at a faculty at a school system, they generally have expertise, training in a lot of different areas, as would we a university. So, how do you manage this at home and really do well? And so, if you look at the data, first of all, we do well. The homeschooling community in general does really well on subjects, college entrance, and all the things that happen there. So it's working. So the system is working, and the people who are teaching are no smarter or no more inclined to get better results than you are. I mean, they're parents who want to get the best for their kids, and they are figuring it out, and it is working. And many times we know it is working better than what we see in the public and some of the private school systems. So, just some philosophical ideas here to talk through about of how we get these results. If you're an old pro at this, you probably know this, but we have to be reminded. I mean, even in our homeschool, this was a struggle, even though we knew the game. So, number one, you don't have to be the expert in everything. As a matter of fact, you are probably not going to be the expert at everything. And especially as your kids get older, that's not really your role. How can you teach your children something that you don't know really, really well, like the maths and the sciences and the things that you probably haven't learned, but even some of the subjects that, the histories and English that maybe you don't remember, all the details, even though you use this stuff all day long. So you don't have to be the expert. Put yourself, take off the expert hat for a minute and put yourself in the guide category. You are trying to be the guide. You are not trying to reteach everything that you learned or maybe that you didn't learn. You are trying to guide them to education. So when they are in high school, they should start to develop a little bit of ability and desire to learn on their own. Because after that, not anybody really is going to be teaching them for the rest of their life. They have to be motivated on their own. So forget being the expert, kind of shift the things. And so shift your role here from teacher to coach. So, for instance, when you hit algebra or chemistry, you don't, and again, anything else that you're no longer that thing, that doesn't mean you don't create the structure, right? The content is the content. Maybe you don't know that, you don't remember that, that's not your thing. We'll get to that in a minute. But you can create structure. You do know a whole lot more about it. You know how to create a learning routine, for instance. Things don't really differ, right? You've got to spend so much time in it. I mean, to play the piano or play any instrument, you learn that you've got to spend some time doing to study the basics, spend some time doing it. So you can create the schedule, create some structure around it. You can encourage progress. This is kind of what a coach would normally do, is encourage progress. You can keep your student accountable. And by check-in points, whether that's daily, whether that's weekly, whether that's at every test, you get to do a structure, because the other thing that you have that no other teacher in the world is going to have is you understand your student really, really well. And if you step back a little bit and say, well, how does he or she, how do they think? How do they work best? What structure do they need? And then you can find the resources. So creating structure, encouraging progress, because we all need encouragement, holding us accountable, and then or holding your students accountable, and then finding the resources that they need. Now, the resources might mean the entire curriculum, but it might mean, hey, I'm struggling with something. How do I figure this out? Your ability to research things and figure things out, whether it's on the internet or through books or through other resources, maybe even making a call to somebody who does know, is something that's a learned skill that you have that's probably better than your kids. Maybe not, but that's probably better than, but probably is better than your kids. I mean, this is one of the reasons we created our curriculum the way we did, and I think some of the other homeschool curriculum is created this way too, is it's more of a support mechanism for the content. And we recommend, we have a syllabus and we have those things that we recommend, but we don't, we understand once it's the parent in this case is the teacher, and the parent creates the guide. And when I'm saying all of this, the structure and all of these kind of things, when I look at the university model, that's what we are doing. Now, we may or may not be experts at the material. I have gone into a classroom before not being an expert in the material. I have literally had faculty members say, okay, I need you to teach this course because something happened. We didn't have a faculty member. The chair of the department said, will you teach this course for us? Because we don't have a body. It's already started. We don't have a faculty member to do it. It's already started. And we have that from time to time because things happen with faculty. And I remember going into a course that I could barely pronounce the name of the title of the course. And I was like, I was learning as much as the student was and trying to keep up. But I was able to still create structure. At the college level, this was at grad school, the idea is they should be able to learn some things. I could go in there and say, hey, the content here in this chapter of the book, go figure it out and let's come back and talk about it. I mean, that's not exactly how I did it, but I did create a structure. And one of the ways we create structure, by the way, at the university level, is we get it from other faculty members, right? So the beauty of homeschooling is you have communities and say, what was the structure you taught chemistry with? What was the structure you taught physics with? How did you do biology? How did you structure it? How did you hold them accountable? What worked for your school? And then you can adapt those things to that. That's what we do in the university. Anytime we teach a course, the first thing we do is look nationwide or worldwide and find out who's teaching this the best. And let's find their syllabus. Maybe even let's get on the phone or email and start talking to them. But, you are in actually probably better shape than a lot of the university people that are having to just pick up things that they don't understand for the first time. So structure, progress, accountable, and then finding the resources. So those four things. So think about there's three ways to actually do the content. You are the coach, you are the guide, and you are creating the structure in these things. But let's get to the content. How do you do this? This is the part that really bothers people. But this is so easy. I shouldn't say it's easy. There's so many resources, which can in itself be overwhelming. Number one, video-based courses taught by the people who can teach it. That's what our courses are. We're taking popular textbooks, Harold Jacobs textbooks, very popular college textbooks at the college level for the Algebra 2 and Trig, pre-calculus, if you will, and calculus. And we are teaching the material. And some of the other courses are business courses and things. We are teaching the material that we teach anywhere else. We create the content. We give you a syllabus. We give you some support. In our case, we answer questions. And then you can take that and say, we're going to follow your syllabus, our syllabus directly, or you're going to modify it for your student and what you need, which I would say, probably 60 to 70% of them do that. or you use somebody else's. It doesn't matter what the subject is. Most content out there is going to give you some type of syllabus or plan. Some are very detailed, some are less detailed, but you adapt it to what you need. And when I say that, your rhythm, how many hours a week can you spend on a subject? For instance, we would recommend don't spend more than an hour a day on math. And then so if your student's blindingly fast in math, well, that means you're covering more content. If your student is very slow and needs to take their time, you're going to cover less content. And that's where you adapt. So the second thing that you would do is create some kind of check-in system. This goes back to the accountability. And so I'm just kind of getting practical. Find the content that fits. And by the way, when it comes to subjects and you're very familiar with, that maybe is easier. When it comes to subjects you are not familiar with, your community can help you, the vendors can help you, but also let your student, especially at the high school level, let your student get involved in the decision. Let them see the videos or see the books, because they need to have a little buy-in and some ownership in it. So have the conversation. Hey, here's the possible resources to teach algebra or to teach chemistry or whatever it is. Which ones do you feel are a best fit for you? And look at them. Teach them to evaluate their learning material critically. So even that you're not alone. But then create a weekly check-in system. Now, again, this varies with the student. Some may need a daily check-in system where you review grades. And if this is to sit down, if this is however you do this, you review grades, how are things going, you ask questions, and you look over progress. And when I say ask questions, what are you learning? Okay, explain it to me. This is the beauty of not being the expert, is you get to get your students, or you could have your students, and we recommend you have your students explain some of what they are learning to you in a way that you can understand. In other words, can you explain this complex subject in algebra or chemistry in a way that me, who has forgotten it, understands it? Because when your student can explain something to somebody else, they are teaching it to you at that moment. Not the whole thing, but the concept. They are learning. And so you pull out of it. It's the Socratic method of teaching, basically. You are pulling out of them the knowledge that they have, and you're making them process it. So some kind of weekly check-in. And some parents formalize this. Some do it more casual. But you don't need to sit down there and solve all the equations or do all the work for them or go over everything in detail. But you want a high-level look. Where are things going? Are they making progress? And again, you adapt that to the needs of your individual students. And of course, we know, if you have two kids in the same course, one's going to do different than others. Number three is the three ways to teach things that you don't understand. I said, use the video content or some kind of content that does it. Create a check-in system, and then encourage independent learning. Before I said you want to encourage. I'm getting detailed about how you would do that. This is the secret. And from all the many homeschoolers we know all over the country, all over the world, one thing that we see generally about homeschooling is, even at the university level, once they come in, they're pretty good about independent learning, which is really, really important if they're going to college. Actually, it's important anyways, no matter what they're doing, because we are always learning, and we are always having to learn new content. So is encourage that. Encourage them, rather than you running out there and researching something to get the answer. Encourage them to figure it out. Encourage them to find the answer. There are so many resources, and I mean, let them figure it out on paper. When they do need to go deeper and they need to find something, let them find the resource. We use and we recommend things, for instance, Wolfram Alpha Wolfram Alpha, and if you type that in a Google search engine, there is a great tool for doing mathematical analysis. We use ChatGPT and AI, and those tools your kids are going to be using at the university level if that's what they so choose. And if they're going to use in the business, they're probably going to be using at least the AI tools. So they might as well learn to investigate these things. I mean, it's what used to be a Google search. That's what this is the way we would do it now, more of an AI type of thing. So encourage that. So again, video-based content is probably your best bet for many students. Some might even say, have some live teachers to do that. You obviously, that's a resource for you, and you have to decide what's best. Some students like that, but that's kind of getting you back into the school mode. But video-based content is a way we wanted to go. Creating a check-in system and encourage independent learning. And boy, that was a hard thing, I think, for us, is the encouraging independent learning, because we want to jump in there and solve the problem. We want to jump in there and help our kids figure it out. And when we stepped back, we found out so often they figured it out better, easier, and found resources that we were not aware of, which is the cool thing, is they will get ahead of you in that, because for the most part, they're probably better at the resources than we are. All right, well, I hope that helps just to think about ways in which you can do this. And let me give you this encouragement. Absolutely, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your degrees, it doesn't matter whether you understood or didn't understand in high school and college or anywhere else you went. It matters that you care and you want to get the results. And if you do, and you really are going to work to get the results, you don't have to be an expert at all of this. Remember, you are the coach, you are the guide, and you can help create systems, but you don't have to know all the details about every part of the course. All right, hope this gives you something to think about.